Hey, Dr. John Finn here. Welcome to the Habit Mechanic podcast. Right now, you can get my new best-selling book, Train Your Brain for the AI Revolution, at tougherminds.co.uk. The digital book, audiobook, and physical book are all available at a special price that you won't find anywhere else. Hello, Habit Mechanics. It's Dr. John Finn here. I hope you're well. Just recording a walking pod. Over the last probably 7 days, there has been a lot of discussion about just how devastating AI is potentially going to be to human jobs. And some commentators completely buy into this. On the other end, some people say this is all hype, it's not real. And I thought a really interesting resource I wanted to point out to people is the a BBC Reith lecture series. The BBC do Christmas Reith lecture series, and in I think it was 2021, December 2021. So before we had the release and the discussions around things like ChatGPT, these new generative AI systems, the lecturer, if it's the right word, for the Reith lecture series was Professor Stuart Russell. And Professor Stuart Russell is, let me get this right, he is the founder of the Center of Human Compatible Artificial Intelligence at University of California, Berkeley. And I listened to that lecture series. I think there's at least 4 one-hour lectures. And he starts from covering AI at a very high level, and he goes into these different kind of verticals, if you like, for how AI is going to impact humans in different sectors. And there's nothing hype around what he's saying. He's coming out almost from a cold, clinical, academic perspective. So he's English, but he's a professor at Berkeley, California, and he has a very measured way of talking about this stuff. And what surprised me is how much of what and he's not really you don't really hear about Stuart Russell. You hear more about the godfathers of AI, like I think Geoffrey Hinton, who's another English guy, and there's a couple of, I think there's 2 of the godfathers, isn't there? One French, and I think one maybe Canadian. You don't really hear much about Stuart Russell, but if you're thinking, is this stuff real that I'm hearing about, listen to those lecture series, because he's almost predicted the future without the hype, just in real terms. And it's really interesting. One of the things he talks about, because he's pretty dangerous, is the use of things like drones. And just this week we saw this almost like SAS style operation from the Ukrainian armed forces against the Russian armed forces, using these drone technologies that wouldn't have been thought about probably even 12-24 months ago, if that was even possible. And all this is being driven by AI. And I think ultimately what Stuart Russell is saying, which completely dovetails with the most extreme, what people might find the most extreme impact that AI is going to have, is that just slowly but surely AI is going to get better and better at being able to do every single role, every single task that humans currently do. And that doesn't just, right now we're seeing roles like HR. I think Microsoft just laid off, IBM just laid off 8,000 people from their HR departments. we're seeing, I think in the UK, I think this is the figure for the last 12 months, that graduate recruitment is down 67%, because companies don't need low skilled workers anymore. And most of what graduates do is low skilled compared to the people that have been doing their jobs for 20 years, right? They can just get AI to do that. Finance is being affected, accountancy is being affected. So we're seeing right now the emergence of these technologies, and they are disrupting more cognitive skills. But actually, what Stuart Russell also points out is they're going to move into the physical skills as well. So lots of people are moving to sort of the trades, but that will also be disrupted, those sectors, by AI. And there's a really interesting Amazon TV program called Clarkson's Farm, and I suppose Jeremy Clarkson's a bit like mustard. People like him or don't like him, but what I find really interesting, having done quite a lot of work for John Deere are, I think, the biggest manufacturer of agricultural equipment in the world, and they see themselves as a technology company. So when you go to John Deere HQ in the UK, they have bots that are cutting the grass, for example, but they have algorithms that are predicting, what's the best way to get the best return on this crop, what's the best way to promote healthy soil conditions. And what's really interesting in the Jeremy Clarkson documentary for me is actually how technology is being used, not software, hardware, to actually do jobs that farmers would have used to have done. Whether that's putting in a post, like just something being hammered down, wrapping a hay bale, the combine harvesters, how clever they are. I think that's a great demonstration of what the future is going to start to look like. Again, the machines are not doing it by themselves, they're co-working with humans. But one thing that Stuart Russell says is that the last sort of defendable set of skills for humans are going to be what I would call human AI performance psychology skills. It's going to be the skills of humans helping other humans, because that is going to remain the most difficult thing for AI to be able to do. And, in my new book, Train Your Brain for the AI Revolution, I point towards this in chapter, I think, 27. I talk about 3 roles for the future that I think will emerge. There will be, I think, the innovators that are just, their job is to solve complex problems. That's what they're working on every day. How do we create a vaccine for this? How do we create buildings that absorb CO2 instead of pump it out? How do we build better education systems for our young people that are going to allow them to thrive in the AI world? So we're going to have these innovators, and then we're going to have the automators, people that build the systems. So already we're seeing that medium-skilled developers have been pretty much wiped out by AI already. Let's be real, AI is a baby. It's just a baby, it's just the beginning, and it's already wiping out very skilled jobs. But we're still going to need humans in the loop on this stuff. So we're going to have the automators that are going to build the software and the hardware and build the machines that actually do that. But then the third role is going to be human AI performance psychology coaches, because the innovators and the automators are only going to be as good as their ability to manage their brain states and consistently get into their high charge brain states, which is the type of highly mental complex thinking that AI is least well able to do. So human AI performance psychology coaches are going to be working with humans to make it, with the innovators and the automators to help them to do that. So I'm not trying to paint some dystopian picture of the future. I think this is real and it's emerging, and all the evidence that we're seeing is all pointing in the same direction. But if you think it's hype, I would really recommend just go to the BBC, or you can Google this or use ChatGPT or something. Look for the Reith lecture series by Professor Stuart Russell, and I think it's from December 2021, and I think you'll find it very instructive. No hype, it's just this is how this world leading expert in this technology, this is what he was predicting would be unfolding in the years ahead. And now we are, we're 4.5 years since those lecture series was recorded, and it's surprising how much of what he said is actually coming to fruition. So I hope that's insightful. I see my role here as I want to help people, I want to educate people, but we need to be realistic. We can't bury our heads in the sand on this. We've got to educate ourselves, we've got to learn about the tech, we've got to learn how to embed it into our work cultures, into our workflows, and our work cultures. I hope that was interesting. Remember, we now have our AI Era Leadership Accelerator, where we are turning up every day and we're supporting people to become AI era leaders that are future-proofed, that are in-demand experts, and that includes becoming an AI era coach as well. So if that's of interest to you, you can access that via I'll put a link actually in this podcast, beneath this podcast. We're running 4-day challenges as part of that program, so it's a monthly challenge program where there's a new challenge every month, and we have 4-day mini challenges in the middle of that. And we just did our first one last week, and the feedback's been excellent, so I'm really excited about these and the benefits that it's delivering to people. So if that's of interest, you can check out the link beneath the podcast, or just contact us via our website. We can give you more details. It'd be great to see you in there. Okay, enjoy the rest of the day, and remember, you're only ever one brain state habit away. Thanks for listening to the Habit Mechanic podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe and tell someone else about one of the ideas or insights that you found most interesting.